What? 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 I got 141 and 2/3 chance of winning at Sacrifice. Woo!
Wrestling Podcast. Let's go, witness. He is broken in half.
And you are just a buck-toothed Netho baby who ate dog food for a weird old man.
Yeah.
Just when they think they got the answers, I change the questions.
Did he do it? Cover!
Oh, and a kick out.
Unbelievable.
I will never retire.
I'm too hot to handle and too cold to hold. And I am the Macho King Randy Savage.
Shut your mouth, you thong-wearing fatty.
It's me, Austin. Whoa!
Bang!
Jacob Fatu is all gas. No brakes with it. Yada made fire.
I said WWE stands for...
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey, yo, Fro Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show where we don't sing it, we bring it. Help us out and click subscribe to show your support. Hey, look, are you sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game? Stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available now, absolutely free. Create a wrestler, sign contracts, get into storylines, headline PLEs, even build your own corporation from the ground up, all included, totally free. App.WrestlerUnstoppable.com. When you pop in there, look up Odin Maximus, that's my character. I'll be sure to add you as a friend on the game. If you want to become a member of the Fro Wrestling Podcast family, want your name in the shout-outs like my good buddy John down in Texas and Emily, then you got to go over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Fro Wrestling Podcast. Sign up today. We got loyalty rewards. If you're a $15 a month contributor, you get to host a show with me. $7.50 a month. Enter into a drawing to do the same, and we'll see if we can get some of you guys into the show with myself. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Fro Wrestling Podcast. If you've got questions, comments, something you want me to talk about in a future episode, you gotta let me know through the Fro Wrestling Sound Off line 267-642-1160. I'll get to those questions or comments, things you want me to talk about in a future episode. Tonight, jumping into some AEW discussion, starting with Adam Copeland, formerly the WWE Superstar Edge, talking about his retirement clock, so to speak. It's being reported that his original plan was to retire by the age of 53, which will be this October, which is also coincides with when his AEW contract runs out. He has made it very clear he has no interest really in being anything in the executive roles or being in the office or booking or anything like that. He really, it sounds like he just, in the time he's going to contribute to this business, he just wants to be a wrestler. Doesn't sound like he wants to be an agent or anything like that. Maybe when he wraps it up, finally, he'll go off and do something else wrestling related. But right now, it does not sound like he has any future ambitions of being in a bigger role in a backstage presence. He does have a lot of matches coming up soon that sounds like they could be exciting. He and Christian against the Young Bucks potentially, maybe against the New Day if the New Day come to AEW. Maybe they get to work with the Hurt Syndicates, another one that people have been talking about recently. I'd love to see anything they could possibly put together between now and October, but you've got to remember two things really. One, we only have till October, and it may seem like that's a long ways away. It's not. We're going to blink. It's going to be here. If we don't start getting some of these dream matches made, it's just not going to happen. Now, will he sign a short-term extension? There's no word on whether he's extended his contract already. He's willing to go beyond that 53rd birthday. We don't know, but it sounds like from everything he said previously that was the original plan. So again, we'll have to wait and see. The other factor is that the tapings or the show of Dynamite this week, apparently Christian Cage got injured, and we don't know the severity of the injury yet, but that could also play a factor in what they do with Adam Copeland going forward. So something definitely to monitor, but for people who are huge fans of Edge and now Adam Copeland all throughout his career, it's nice to see him having the opportunity to come back to the industry after the quote-unquote career-threatening injury and do so many matches, so many things, put on so many highlight moments since he's had this run. And I'm really glad that he did make the decision to go to AEW because it was very clear that he was not going to get the opportunity to do the same level or same quantity of matches in WWE, and AEW has allowed him that freedom, and it's a wonderful thing, something I hope they continue to do for other talents coming in. a big conversation this week has been on AEW theoretically, when his contract runs out, wanting to work with Mick Foley. Now, I don't know what the status of Mick Foley's Legends contract is, or whatever they want to call it. I know he has one. I know he's not interested in staying in WWE. The rumor is it expires sometime this summer, and that Tony Khan would be interested in doing something with him. Now, I know there was conversation rumblings a few years ago about him doing something with MJF, a final match, so to speak, but his doctors discovered there were certain things going on that would make that very difficult to pull off. So I don't expect that he would do anything in a wrestling capacity. It doesn't mean he couldn't contribute on TV, but the real question is, what would you have him do of any substance? And that's the difficult thing, because beyond something in the ring, they don't really use like on-screen commissioners or anything like that in AEW. Only a couple times have they done something with Christopher Daniels. So I don't really see him doing something like that. So what do you do with Mick Foley if he does come to the company? It's not like the New Day, which people are still hypothesizing whether or not the New Day are going to go there or not. I think it would be great for them to get worldwide exposure with AEW, and show that they could still go. Then again, they are more, I hate to say it this way, they're more cartoonish, so to speak, than what AEW typically goes for. I mean, take a look what's happened with the Iconics, a very comedic tag team, women's tag team. They were able to do that in WWE and in TNA and do very well for themselves, but in AEW that doesn't really hit with their fan base. They are more of a hardcore wrestling fan. Now, I would argue that Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, or Austin Creed now, could easily do that style, but it has been in a very long time since they've had to or really been forced to. So I don't know how they fit in. I would love to see it. I also have seen people talk about how TNA would be a better option because they could do that comedic role and add longevity to their careers. I don't know, but I still think it would be a great thing to see them make a mark in AEW. I think if they go there, you have to give them a tag team championship run. Let's be honest, that's what they're known for. Not sure how Big E feels about all this conversation, which I think is definitely a part of the conversation. I know there is talk of they always wanted to do the match between the Elite and the New Day, and there was talk this week that the Young Bucks were saying that they even had a phone call with Triple H about trying to make that match happen back in 2018, and it never really went anywhere. But obviously, if they come in, that's going to be something that happens, the Young Bucks versus the New Day. And I don't know what name they'll use, because obviously the New Day, something is going to be copywritten by WWE, but definitely another thing to keep an eye on. Let's get into AEW Dynamite, because that's really what we want to focus on tonight. Here's the thing about AEW right now. They are hitting on all cylinders. Their programming is phenomenal. Their storytelling has been fantastic. They are building some really compelling things heading month to month to month. It's just they're building momentum. Now, look, they're at this point, they're still nowhere near a threat to anything important in terms of WWE is concerned, so long as TKO doesn't screw up WWE any more than they already have started to. But that does not take away from the fact that they are putting on some amazing, amazing television programming, and the matches are just off the chain. This week, I'm not a big fan of these every week having these like 10-man or whatever tag team matches, but they had another one this week, another one where the Young Bucks, Orange Cassidy, and Cope and Christian come out victorious. Again, Christian got injured during the match, so I don't know what that's going to do to their program, but I think at this point, seeing Copeland and Christian Cage being booked so strong does certainly open the opportunity for them to go for the tag team championship again. I would love to see FTR more prominently featured. I feel like they've kind of taken a dip back. Even though they're into programming, I feel like they've taken a dip back somewhat. I love what they're doing with Will Ospreay and the Death Riders. I don't know where it goes, and I'll get into that a little bit shortly, but there's definitely some opportunity there, I think, for something down the line for Will Ospreay and Jon Moxley. Again, I'll get into it later. I don't want to give anything away for what we're going to talk about later. The Mike Bailey-Westbrook match, waste of time, honestly. I don't have a problem with it because obviously Mike Bailey has to win matches and whatnot. But it gets followed up by Brian Cage making his return to the promotion. And when he comes out, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a huge mark for Brian Cage. I think he's one of the most amazing, underappreciated talents in all of AEW. When he was in TNA and TNA World Heavyweight Champion, I thought he's something special. And if you've ever had the opportunity to talk to Guy on social media, he is about as personable and welcoming a person as you could possibly ask a professional wrestler to be. So I was thrilled to see him come back. He's been dealing with an injury for over a year. He comes back, and he's going to get a match with Kevin Knight for the TNT Championship. Kevin Knight, obviously, just after winning the championship, isn't going to lose the match, but it was definitely a strong way to bring Brian Cage back. I loved everything about that. But then after the match, Mike Bailey's still there, grabs the microphone. Congratulations, Kevin Knight. And then what I find interesting is Mike Bailey inserting himself into the AEW World Championship conversation, saying that he's going to be the future AEW World Champion. He wants the next shot. That Knight's going to be a future champion. He's obviously going to get other shots. I love how everybody talks about the World Championship. Because let's be honest, when you think about what wrestlers are supposed to do, if you're not shooting to be world champion, you're in the wrong business. You shouldn't be there if you don't want to be world champion. And really, in AEW, this is year in and year out. Everybody wants to be in the world championship picture, and I love that mentality. It brings some legitimacy, I believe, to their product in terms of it really, even though we know that it's predetermined and things like that, it makes it feel like there's a competitive nature between the talent, which I absolutely love because it blurs the lines between, kayfabe and reality, and I love that. Now, the commentary team does announce the brackets for the Owen Hart Foundation Cup Tournament. The opening round sees Samoa Joe and Will Ospreay. Makes a lot of sense with their recent history. I don't think anybody would be surprised that if I was I don't want to I can't give away spoilers because the matches haven't happened yet, but obviously I think Will Ospreay wins that match. I really don't see anybody winning this tournament but Will Ospreay because I don't see anything that lines up better than Will Ospreay competing for the AEW Championship in Wembley. So we'll have to wait and see how things play out. But he's going to face Samoa Joe in the opening round in the quarterfinals at Double or Nothing. You're also going to see Swerve Strickland versus Bandito. You're going to see Brody King against Claudio Castagnoli. And you're going to see Jack Perry against Mark Davis. Now, when I look at this, what really I feel bad about is there's only two guys that I'm fairly confident have no chance to win the tournament. That would be Jack Perry and Mark Davis. I think that because of the recent championship change for the national championship with Mark Davis beating Jack Perry, there's a great storyline there. I don't know who you bring out of that match. You could easily do Mark Davis, but then you're kind of burying Jack Perry, who hasn't gotten a rematch for his championship. You could do Jack Perry and Will Ospreay. I think that would be an interesting match. I just don't think it has as much teeth to it. I would like to see the Mark Davis thing because there's history with he and Will Ospreay recently, trying to re-injure Ospreay's neck and whatnot. On the other side of the bracket, the Swerve Strickland and Bandito match, I don't really see Bandito walking out winning the match, though it would be interesting for other reasons. I think obviously Swerve comes out of that match as the winner. The opposite end of the bracket, when you see Brody King versus Claudio Castagnoli, I think, could you put off a thing where Claudio wins and goes against Bandito? Maybe. Could he go against Swerve? Maybe. But I really think that this is I know sometimes AEW likes to rock the boat. I don't think you need to do that right now. I think it's very predictable, but I think it could be because of what people really want down the line, which is Swerve Strickland wins his match against Bandito. There is some intrigue there if Bandito were to face Brody King, but I don't think we go there yet. I think you have Swerve defeat Bandito. I think you have Claudio Castagnoli lose to Brody King, setting up Brody and Swerve, which is something we've seen recently at the last pay-per-view. And then we get to see, probably, my opinion, Swerve win and go against Will Ospreay for the Owen Hart Cup. And obviously, in my opinion, you have Ospreay win that to go main event in London. That, to me, is poetry in motion. I don't see any other way to book that. I think the matches all make sense, though. They're very much aligned with current storylines. It furthers those storylines. It gives them something to fight about other than just wanting to fight with somebody. So I think the tournament's going to be fantastic. All the matches should be solid top to bottom. Kudos to Tony Khan and his booking team for putting together some really compelling storylines. Will Ospreay then gets to face Ace Austin. Solid match. Ace Austin's a good hand. He really is. He's a phenomenal wrestler. I'd love to see him doing more, but in AEW, there's so many top-tier talents. I don't see a way for him to do that, but he still gets to have great matches. Will Ospreay comes out the winner. The Ops come out. There's conversation about, what's going to happen with them in the Owen Hart Cup. Obviously, that's something we get to look forward to. After that, we have the commentary team revealing the Women's Owen Hart Foundation Cup Tournament brackets. Willow Nightingale and Alex Windsor going to go head-to-head in the quarterfinals at Double or Nothing. Athena facing Mina Shirakawa in the quarterfinals. Persephone and Hazuki in the quarterfinals. And Sky Blue versus Saray. I think whoever comes out winning the Nightingale versus Alex Windsor, which I suspect is going to be Alex Windsor just because you could really solidify her, is probably going to be the one who wins the tournament. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that has to happen, but it's certainly what I would do if I was booking the tournament. I think you could really solidify her as a main event level challenger for the AEW Women's Championship. I think that would make a lot of sense. We get the Triangle of Madness against Sheeta and the Brawling Birds. This is a great way to further the storyline without having to have championship matches every week oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank. Why am I drawing a blank on names? On Thelka. Thelka doesn't have to defend a women's championship every single week. I think that's a bad idea anyways. That's why I'm not a big fan of what they're doing with Darby Allin. I think there's a reason for Darby Allin, but whatever. This was a solid match, disqualification ending, a championship title belt hit to Hayter. Is going to end the match. It's fine. It furthers the storyline. It gets people excited about the potential for Hayter to dethrone Thelka. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But I do think they're doing a great job with the women's division. Are there other people I'd like to see more involved? We haven't seen Mercedes Moné in months. We haven't seen Britt Baker in years. Of course, there's other people that could be involved in the mix, but they're doing such a great job right now. I don't know that it's necessary. We do get Darby Allin versus Konosuke Takeshita. This was put on because Kazuchika Okada had to go back to Japan, some kind of family issue he has to deal with, and so this match is made instead. Darby Allin with a clean victory over Takeshita. I don't know that I like that ending just because it makes Takeshita look weak heading into his match against Okada coming up shortly. Not a lot of explanation why Okada had to leave, and that's his business. We don't need to know, but it felt rushed. There could have been so much more. They should have delayed the match or something. But this is again, it's a great match. It's a solid match. After that, of course, we get the Darby Allin MJF championship contract signing. The match is going to take place, the hair on the line versus the championship. We get the MJF attacking with the diamond ring at the end of this whole segment. I think it's going to be a solid match. You have Kevin Knight come out to make the save at the end. Solid stuff. Look, Dynamite is a banger every single week. Tony Khan is putting on some great television every single week. If you are not tuning into AEW Dynamite and even Collision, you are missing out on phenomenal wrestling action. I get it. There are people who, the tribalism wrestling is real. There are people who are WWE only, AEW only. Watch it all. Watch as much as you can. There's so many hours of wrestling every week now. It's impossible to see everything, but watch as much AEW and WWE as you can. There is some really great stuff going on in AEW, and compare it to what you're seeing in WWE. Look, WWE it has an audience, and so does AEW. They're very different sometimes, but mainstream, like diehard fans, if you're listening to this show, this kind of fan, you need to be tuning in every week. You don't want to miss things. There are some really cool things happening in AEW, and I can't applaud them enough, especially when WWE's booking has been down so much recently. I think it's really a great time to be an AEW fan, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with these storylines coming up in the near future. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode. We run down the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks to Suno for creating the music and sound effects I use in my show. Today's show sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bring a new friend to family game night. It's easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this game from Beazle Games by going to thegamecrafter.com and picking up your copy today. If you're looking for your next career move, you're considering college or university life, maybe you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Dr. Fro. I want to thank you for taking some time with us tonight. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a great night.
Wrestling Podcast.